We have no less than 4 questions about a global aspect of basic income in different aspects of it, both on how it would work if we implement it in the Western world, how would that affect the third world or the developing nations. Also your views on a universal basic income, on a global basic income, if that is feasible. Also, how would basic income work in cultures where women are not expected to be part of the labor force?
We've done a pilot in Namibia, and we've done a pilot in India. The pilot in India, one of the things that happened was the following. When we went to a particular village, and I mentioned this last night, the young women in that village all had veils. And they wouldn't allow their pictures to be taken for the card that we needed to be paying out the basic income. So they had to go into a hut in private and have their pictures taken without the public seeing. After about 6-7 months, I happened to go back to that particular village. And I was sitting there, and I said to a colleague in our team, I said, have you noticed a change? I said, have you noticed all the young women are not wearing veils anymore? That's very strange. And so we called some of the women across and we said, excuse us, but I hope you don't mind. When we came before, you were wearing veils. One eventually told us. You see, the reason is we now have our own money. And the elders can't tell us what to do. All right? In Namibia, we had a pilot, and after the end of the pilot, I went up to a group of young women, and I said, excuse me, but what do you regard as the best thing about the basic income you've been receiving? They were all giggling and didn't want to answer. You know, they were teenagers and didn't want to answer. I said, come on. And then one of them said, okay, well, look, now, when the men come down with their wages at the end of the month and they come to the village, we can turn around and say, no. Now that's powerful. That's powerful, that's real emancipation. So for me, women are real beneficiaries of a basic income. It's an individual thing, don't forget. It reduces paternalistic powers. And not just within families, but within communities. I don't believe in a universal, global basic income, just as I don't think Thomas Piketty's global wealth tax will get off the ground. It's pie-in-the-sky stuff. I would love it. In a dream world, I would love it. But I think we're going to have to work from local. The great thing about our pilots in India is that when we started them, Sonia Gandhi asked to see us, and she said, look, it's going to be a complete waste of money. They'll spend it on alcohol and drugs and bags. At the end, when she heard about the results, she asked us to her house to present the video and the statistical evidence. And she said, you've convinced me. A senior cabinet minister in charge of rural development came to our conference where we presented the results, and he said, you've merely, he said, proved that poor people are rational. I said, yes, that's not the Hindu Brahmin perspective, is it? And he said, you've converted me. And we've converted through seeing what people actually do. I strongly believe, and I hope, that some part of Sweden will have a pilot basic income scheme, where for a year or 2 or whatever, everybody in a community will receive a basic income. And the outcomes compared with somewhere else. And we see the results. It's happened in Canada. It's happened in Brazilian cities where the very process of a pilot suddenly gave courage to politicians, suddenly took away the prejudices that are used The prejudice is like, if you give people a basic income, they'll all become lazy. There's no evidence for that. The evidence is the contrary, both in psychological experiments and in practical experiments. So for me, we ought to go from local to then national, build a campaign, move in the direction of a basic income. Not have an overnight revolution, that won't happen. But we've got to legitimize it and move step by step by step. That's my